Hi everyone and welcome to Unwind and Design. My name is Kimberly and I'm your instructor for today. So start you off with what we have in front of us. We have an 11 by 14 size canvas. Okay, mine's a canvas board. Next we have a fan. We are going to be working in layers, so you're going to need a fan or a hair dryer if you have an outlet nearby. That helps you work a little bit faster. We start from the back and then work our way forward, and that way we can make the most out of our painting experience instead of having to wait and wait for a long time, right? So then we have our towel to our right. Then we have our water for our brushes, and we have our brushes. So the brushes we're going to be using today are going to be our large background brush, our medium square brush, our round tip pointed brush that comes to a point, of course, and our fine detail liner brush. Okay. So as long as you have brushes like these, of course, if you have a bigger canvas, maybe bigger versions of this brush will be fine. So these are the brushes we're going to be using next. The colors we're going to be using are as follows. We have our yellow, red, pink. If you don't have pink, you can make pink using red and white. Next, we have black, blue, brown, green, and purple. If you don't have purple, you can use blue and red combined together to make purple. The more red you add, the more red violet. The more blue you add, the more blue violet the color gets. Okay, so these are the colors we're going to be using, and as a reminder, these colors are sticky, so remember to add some water. We want to make sure that our painting is nice and soft, or we're going to waste a lot of paint and it's going to take a long time to dry. So we want to make sure that our water is nice and mixed into our colors. Okay, so we're going to start off first with our large background brush. So pick up a big brush, the one we're going to be doing the back with. And we're going to be using a little bit of yellow. So our colors are going to be as follows. Yellow with a tiny drop of brown. Okay. You can even add a drop of red in there if you want. We don't want it to be too dramatic. We want it to still look like it's a yellow. You see that? It's just a deeper yellow because I added a tiny drop of brown. So I'm making sure to mix the water real well into that paint. I want to make sure my paint is nice and smooth. If it's too sticky, I'm going to waste a lot of it. If it's too watery, I'm not going to be able to see the color. It's going to be way too pale. So I'm coming back with a little bit more water, adding it to the other corner of the yellow. I never like to use the middle either. I like to use the corners in case I want to use a bright yellow later. I still have some color left over, right? So I'm adding some water into that yellow, picking up a little bit of my white, and I'm going to start to mix that white into that yellow. Okay, so we have a very light yellow. And if you want to even add a dash of red on that, you could. Still be yellow. Just a different creamier yellow. There we go. Looks almost pastel. Okay, so we have these yellows as follows. So we have some of that bright yellow. We're going to be making an X design, okay? So we're just going to be overlapping our lines, working in sections. Imagine that the outside is just a little bit lighter and that the center is going to be a little bit darker, but we don't want it to mix in, okay? See how here it's all starting to become one color? We're trying to avoid that. So we're going to come in with a little bit more of that darker yellow just to mix it up. See that? So now you can see a variety of colors. It doesn't just look like it's one solid yellow. You're also going to come in with your plain white, and you're going to mix some white in there just to mix it up a little bit as well. Okay, so our lighter sections are going to be around the outside, and our darker yellow is going to be closer to the middle. Remember, the darker yellow was yellow with a little bit of brown. And optional, you could add a little bit of red, optional. But remember, we still want it to look yellow for the most part. Okay. If it gets too dark, add more yellow and more white. You want to be nice and balanced. Don't get ahead of yourself. You're going to end up with a very dark painting, and we're not wanting a dark painting. We're wanting a very vibrant and bright painting. Okay. So just be careful with the darker yellow. Make sure that it's not too dramatic. Make sure that the color is really well mixed in. If not, you're gonna get streaks of brown and red in your yellow, and you don't want that. You want the color to be very well emulsified, really well blended. Okay, and we're just gonna go around playing with these yellows. All right, let's keep going. Remember, we want to keep it nice and dark in the center. We want to keep it a little bit lighter as we go up. However, we do want to remember to keep the divides by using a variety of color. We don't just want to keep one color there. So now that we're going lighter, we get to use our yellow. See, I'm starting to lighten up the edges now. Coming in with my yellow and my white. Nice and mixed. Yellow and my white to get a variety of color. And then I'm coming in with my straight white to be the final highlight on there. See, and how that starts to separate a little bit because of the white that was added on. Okay, so we just want to keep that up. Let's keep it going. We are now going to be using our detail brush, and we're going to be picking up some blue, and we're going to be mixing it into our white. We're trying to make a very light blue here. And we are going to be painting on our canvas. We are going to go at about maybe halfway and just scoot it a little bit down. So we're coming in with that baby blue, and we're going to start at around this section. I'm going to implement that right now. And we are going to start to make a little line, and we are going to be bringing that line down. See that? Okay. From here, we're going to make a little triangle, and we're going to curve it in like this towards the middle a little bit, towards the middle center. And from here, we're going to pull in slightly, and we're going to start to expand a little bit downwards, kind of like a pitcher of tea or water, pitcher of lemonade. We want it to be wider at the base. There we go. So here, we are gonna actually, at the end of this, skip a space, and we're actually, or you know what, no, let's make a line going straight down. We don't have to skip anything. Let's do that. So we're filling that in all the way down. Also angling it like a pot. This is the back end of the pot, making it slightly longer, more inclined towards the left. Bringing this down. Right here, we're going to skip a step and then we're going to make it small, slightly. So we're going to curve, kind of like we're going to make a triangle, except that we're going to start to bring it down with the pitcher. Okay, let's go a little darker here. This is going to be a little darker blue. Okay, just so you know, this is going to be a little bit darker than the rest. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of dark blue so that I remember that. And that's what I like to do sometimes when I paint. I like to leave little markers to let me know, okay, this side is darker, this side is lighter. Okay, so from here, they're both gonna kind of match, and we're gonna bring them down towards the bottom left, right up against the end of the pot. We're gonna stop right there, and we're gonna begin to fill in our pot. We're getting that dark blue. Remember, this section is gonna be a little bit darker. So you could go in and fill it with your detail brush, but if you're gonna struggle too much, go ahead and grab your square brush or your round tip brush, whatever you are more comfortable with. For this one, I am going to be picking up my round tip, and I'm coming in with a little bit more of that blue, mixing it in with just a little bit of white, so it still continues to be a little bit lighter than usual. And I am scraping this on the handle, nice and smooth. It's gliding perfectly because the water is just right. We want the water to be nice and blended into the color so that when we apply our paint slides a lot easier. And we're going to bring this down. We're now going to come in with our square brush. And we are going to continue to paint in the rest of our pot here. So we're coming in. This top section is going to be a little bit darker. We are going to be having the flowers a little bit more crowded towards the top. So we're coming in with a slightly darker blue. Remember to mix the color well into your paint. Again, coming in with that dark blue. And we're going to continue that dark blue off to the left side, down the left. But we start to break that trend of the dark blue once we start to go a little bit lower. It starts to get lighter on this side a little bit. So I'm still adding a little bit of darkness here on the left as well. And then I'm coming in with that white and that light blue. And we're starting to lighten these up a little bit more. So you can come in with both the dark and the light blue to try to get a middle ground right here in the center. Okay, so let's go ahead and play with this. Remember, it is a little bit darker around the outside. from here, we're going to grab our round tip brush again. And we're going to be using some white. So we're picking up our round tip, picking up our white. Make sure that your water is very well blended into your color. And we're going to start to do some circles here in white. So you can play with the positioning of them. We have one on this side. Let's do another one right next to it. How about another one right off to that corner here, coming off this side? And we'll do another one down here. Again, you can come back with a little bit more white. Brighten it up a little bit if it's starting to fade into the background. If it's starting to dry into the blue, you might need a couple coats. Let's do another one right in the middle. Grab a little bit more off to the side here, partially going out of the end. Come back with a little bit more of that white. Again, you can come back, add another couple of coats. Make these nice and bright. So from here, if you want to be a little bit more detailed, you can come in with your detail brush, pick up a little bit of that blue. And you can add a little bit of a circle around the outline with this dark blue. You don't have to do it to all of it. It could just be to some sections of it. It doesn't have to be a full circle. It could just be broken lines. Okay, so you can leave spaces in between the lines when you go around. It doesn't have to be a closed circle. On these, we are going to get a little bit of that blue, mix it into our white, and we are going to add a little bit of light blue on the edge of the circles over here. Make sure that you add plenty of white to that. We just want to make it look as if there's a shadow on our white because of the flowers that are over the top there. So we're going to come in a little bit and we're going to make a light blue on that one. We're also going to do the same over here since we have the shadow on this edge. See that? Here we're going to just get a little bit of it. Same here, only a little bit. So from here, we are going to use our detail brush to sort of begin to outline where we're going to be placing our flowers. So starting off, we're going to be doing our larger flowers and then adding our smaller flowers, then our leaves and our smallest flowers. So we're going to start off first making these big poppy kind of flowers. And we're going to start off towards the right corner on top right here in this section. Remember, you want to still leave plenty of space to have more flowers up on top. So we're going to come over here towards the top right, and we're going to do a big line. See that? A nice big circle. And we're going to work on making a circle, but this circle is going to be a little bit deformed. We're going to have some weird waves on it. Just remember to make it look like a flower. So it's kind of weird here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. See? So I'm just kind of waving it so it looks like a flower. Right in the center, I'm going to go in and do a circle. On my left section right next to it, We're going to come in and do another one. Remember, these are the biggest flowers that are in here. So we want them to make sort of a, you know, impression when you see them. So they're a little big. They're a little crowded onto the blue even. If you have to keep going over it like I am, go for it. Be brave with your flowers. We're making them nice and big. And then right above here, we're making another flower. This one is connected to it a little bit. Remember to leave some space up on top. Right in the center of each of these. A little bit more towards the right, we have our circle here. Over here towards the left, we have our circle there. From here, we're going to have 3 little circles. So we're going to have 1, kind of random. Okay, here's another one, 2, 3. And these also have little circles right in the middle. Okay. Right in between these 2, we're going to do 1 circle as well. Also a little wide. Then up towards the left, we're going to have 2. And these are all connected in a way. There you go. And then here at the edge of this larger one, we have 1 more. And it also has a circle. Okay, so now that we know our positioning for our main flowers, we're actually going to be working on our leaves. Okay, so we kind of have a guideline as to where our flowers are going to be. We can go in there at our leaves so that when we apply our flowers, they'll be directly on top of our leaves and it'll look like we have multiple layers going on. Okay, so the colors we're going to be using for our greens are going to be 2 or 3 different greens. We're going to pick up some plain green. Okay, so you can always use this one. It's a really nice basic green. You'll get a nice even color. Next, you can mix a little bit of brown and you'll get more of an olive green by mixing some brown into your green. So that's another color that you can use too. Okay, look at that. These are nice shadow colors. Next, we have some green and you can add a little bit of black to it. You see all these different greens that I'm making all outside? It's plain green, green with brown, green with black is another shadow color. Look at that. It looks like a dark green. And next, make sure you wash your brush off real well. It's going to be some yellow. You get to use yellow with green too. And look at that. You get a very light green right there. So some yellow with green. And finally, the brightest highlighting color, our white. And that gives us a white with green. So you see all those varieties? We got our green, we mixed brown, we mixed black, we mixed yellow, we mixed white. So we got to play with all those different varieties. And those are the varieties that we're going to be using in here. So whenever you're going to use a highlight color, use your yellow with white or your yellow with green. Whenever you're going to use a shadow green, use green with black or green with brown. Okay, so we're coming in. I'm grabbing first a little bit of that green with black. And I'm going to start to make some lines inside the back here, in between my big flowers. I'm going to add some lines. Remember, don't go into the flower, kind of just stay on the outside. Okay, stay around the flower only. Okay, and then here, we're going to make a line going into the pot slightly. So then from here, let's add a little bit of that dark green down here as well. See, and we're being kind of rough. Okay, and we're going to do another thick line over here. This line is going to be a little bit of brown though. A little bit of brown with green. Okay. So in here, we now played with some of those dark colors. Now let's grab some highlight. We always go back and forth. So I'm coming in with my lighter yellow, my lighter green, and I'm going to start to add that in there. Coming back with a little bit more of that green. And I'm going to add the right-hand side of my leaf there. Same thing over here. I'm going to add a little bit more of those highlights, and I'm going to add the right side of my leaf there. If you at any point want to come in and just scrape some yellow on there, you can as well, or even some brown or white to get a variety of colors. There we go. Okay, so next we're going to start to crowd a little bit towards our right over here, this corner. We do have some of those varieties of greens coming in there as well. But mainly we have a big leaf that's coming down. Okay, so we're coming in. If you want to grab some of that dark green, green with black, and on the other side, you could get green with yellow. If you go half and half on your brush, you can bring it down and get both colors at the same time. Okay, so you can do that. Again, if you pick up one color on half of the brush on one side, and then on the other side, you pick up another color, you get both those colors on there. So when you bring them down, you get this really cool look of a double level or doubling down on the depth of the color itself. Okay, so we're coming in with that black and blue, and we're starting to do these very thin and then to thick lines. And we're starting to make our leaves here. These are going to be a little bit rustic, so we do want to be a little bit rough with them. And they're going to start to get crowded once we start to reach the flower. Again, you can come in with a little bit of that yellow, maybe even some of your green white, and start kind of making it look as if our flowers are getting crowded on this side, or our plants are getting crowded on that side. And we want to go back with a little bit of that yellow and green. And we want to just scrape it on top of some of these sections. So come back with a little bit more of that yellow. Next, as we work our way up towards the right, it's going to be the same situation. So we're going to come in with a couple of different greens up here at the end. Except that now I'm going to be using my detail brush, just so you guys can see the varieties of leaves you get with each brush. Coming in here with my detail brush. Okay, you can make lines a little bit more specific with this. Okay, so you can come and outline some things that maybe you didn't get before. Get into all the little crevices. Okay, so from here, I'm coming in with the same green, my dark green. And I'm pulling it up towards the end and making it a little bit thick up there. And then I'm coming in with all of my little leaves, pressing and then releasing. See, look at the differences. This one's a finer line. So after adding our dark color, as always, we're going to go in there and apply our highlight. So we're coming in with a little bit of that yellow and green, and we're going to start to apply it next to the color. So again, we're coming in with a little bit of that yellow, and we're applying it right next to that dark color so that it looks like it has two sides per leaf. See, on this side, I'm going to come in and even add a little bit of white to that. Can do the same thing down here. And we are going to be painting in our flowers right now. So we're picking up, first we're going to be starting off with our background flowers, and our colors are going to be pink, a dark deep purple, red, like a red violet, and then we're going to move on to our bright red orange ones. Okay, so we're going to start off first with our pink ones. We're going to mix a little bit of water into our pink, or we're going to mix red with white. And we're going to start off first with a little bit of a darker red pink. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit more red to our pink if we already have it. I'm going to add a little bit more red to that. And we're going to start to paint in some of these flowers. So right here on top, first we have our right one. We're going to paint the darker section where our flower kind of interacts with our other flowers. So here it interacts with those flowers. Therefore, that would be my shadow, my darkest color. Okay. And I'm also going to put some around the center pollen. Okay. We're going to do the same to this one on top. We're going to go right in the middle. And this one is going to be a little bit darker all the way around because it has flowers on all sides. Plus, we're going to go around the center again. See? There we go. And which one do we have next? This one over here. It also connects, so come in there with that dark pink. Okay, remember to go around the pollen. And this bottom one also. So we're going to add some pink to that one as well. Some dark pink. And around the pollen as well. There we go. Next, we're going to come back with our lighter pink. So it's going to be the brighter pink that we have up on top with just a little bit of white. And we're going to come in and use that as the highlight for our flower. So we're going to paint the far end with that lighter pink color. And then we're going to come in and just kind of add some of that light pink to the center. You see that, how we're still keeping the shadow around? Same thing here, coming in with our lighter pink. We're outlining the far end. And then we're going to start to kind of go into the dark pink a little bit. And we're going to blend in around. Remember, we want to make it look like that's a shadow. And we're just going to add a little bit of that light pink into our dark area there. Maybe even bring some of that dark pink into our lighter one. Kind of find a middle ground there. You can come back with a little bit more of that dark color and even it out a little bit. See that? Same thing here. We got that darker pink. So then we're coming in with the brighter pink up on top. In fact, both of these have that. And then we're going to start to fill in the center before our paint completely dries. We want to make sure we get it well blended. Sorry, I got my dog in here. Nobody. Sorry, guys. So we're coming in a little bit with that white, with that light pink. See, and now we have these really pretty flowers here on top. Okay, you can come in with some white. If you want to add a little bit more highlight, you can add a little bit of white to the far end. See that? Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so next, moving on, we're going to be doing our really vibrant and deep plum ones. So we're going to be picking up a little bit of this purple, and we're going to be adding a little bit of red to it. And so we're going to get sort of a raspberry color there. So purple with red. If not, mix your blue with more red than blue. And we're going to add a drop of black in there. There we go. So I'm going to add a little bit more red. There we go. We're trying to go with like a really deep red cherry color. See that? Let me turn on the light for you guys here. Okay, you see that very bright raspberry? So that's purple with red and a little bit of black. So we have this lighter raspberry color. And then next to it, we have a darker raspberry color. So it's going to be that raspberry with a little bit more black. And that's going to be our shadowy color. Okay, so we're going to get our darker raspberry color with one that's a little bit more black. And we're going to go closer to the bottom level. See that? We want it to be a shadow, just like we did with our darker pink. We want it to be a shadow, nice and deep. Okay, same thing down here. My flowers are connecting. If you go over your leaves, that's fine. Don't feel bad about it. Go over your leaves. There we go. Okay, same thing here, right in the middle. And closer to my pink flower, I'm going to do it the darkest. There we go. Okay, so from here, we're going to grab our red violet. So remember, it's just going to be a little bit lighter. You can even get just a tiny bit of white in there, just so that you can get a lighter version of it. And we're going to start to, again, highlight the edges with it and just work our way into our dark shadow. See that? And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Come in here with our lighter purple or our lighter red. It's like a wine color. It's really beautiful. And we just start to work it into our darker section. Again, if you have to come back with that darker section later to even it out, that's fine. And we're trying to work some of this color in. And there we go. We did our darker flowers. So from here, we are going to come in and make some orange. We're picking up a little bit of this red, a little bit of this yellow, mixing it together. We're making orange, and with this orange, we are going to come in and begin to dab it on the sides here. So we're coming in with some of that orange, and we're starting to dab some orange dots around our vase. So we're going to add some in the center. We don't want it to look too lonely. You can even add a little bit of white to it to make it pop out a little more. We're going to add a few around. Start to make this really stand out. And there you go. You can even add some yellow and white ones. Mix a little bit of yellow and white together. And also go ahead and add some yellow and white circles around. So from here, we're going to be working on our center flowers. So our center flowers are going to be a deep red orange with a lighter red orange. So what does that mean? It means we're going to be using mostly red. And to our red, we're going to be mixing in our yellow. And there you go. This is more of like a light orange color. And we have more of a deeper orange over here. Let's see what that looks like. This looks more like the lighter one. Okay. So let's make this one our lighter orange. And then this one towards our right, a little bit more, a little darker. There we go. So we're coming in with this dark orange. And we're going to start to put it all around this section. And it's going to have a little bit of a lightness down here where it's not really interacting with anything. So we're coming in with that dark orange again. You might want to come in a little bit later and add a second layer just to make sure it's nice and bright. Okay, so we have that deep orange. Okay, remember these are kind of rough marks. You're not trying to be super light with it. You're not trying to be soft. You want the marks to be a little bit on the rougher end. Then we're coming in with that lighter orange. And we're starting to work in that lighter orange closer to the bottom section here. You see that? We're grabbing some more of that lighter orange. Okay, we're going to start to play with this lighter orange into the rest of our poppy, into the rest of our darker section. We're going in with our lighter section. You can even come in with a little bit more yellow, kind of play with it. Okay, just remember our darkest section. Our darkest section has to be closer to the left here. Our brightest orange is there. Okay, got a little bit of purple on there. That's why it's important to wait for your paint to be dry. See, I went in ahead a little bit. It's okay, I'll paint over it in a sec. So now we're gonna do the same to this one. We're going in with our darkest orange. Okay, we're coming in and working in on our left-hand side. Same thing over here, a little bit darker on the edge. And we're just going to continue to work it a little bit lighter with our lighter orange towards the right. I also added a couple of these white dots. I really like the way that they look when I add them to my bouquet. So I'm adding a couple to these. This is just a personal touch that I like to add. I'm going to come in and just kind of bring out the center since we're going to be working on that middle section now. So again, I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to bring your painting to a close before we move on. Okay, so moving on. Working on our center pollen here, we're going to be using our round tip brush. And we're going to be grabbing some yellow with white. And that's what we're going to be dabbing inside the center of our little flowers towards the back. Just some of that yellow and white. Very basic. Nothing crazy. Okay. Now, once we get into the center here with us, we are actually going to grab a little bit of black and red, and we're going to go for a deep color, so some black and red. And we're just going to be going around our pollen a little bit with that dark color. Okay, I'm trying to create a shadow around where I'm going to be putting my pollen. Then right in the center, we are going to come in with a green, yellow, and white mixture. So here's green, yellow, and I'm going to add a little bit of white. A tiny bit more green in there. There we go. And we're going to just kind of dab that around inside there in a little circle. Okay, the point here is that we have a different varieties of green showing through. Okay, so there we go. Next, we're going to grab a little bit of white with yellow. And we're going to go right in the middle with that white with yellow. And then at the edges, you're just going to make some lines going in towards the middle, all the way around. See that? Okay, so we're going to do that. Go all the way around. Okay, and you can do that with your dark green. You can do that with your white. Just go all the way around. And we're starting to just make these lines from all the way around towards the middle circle that we drew. Okay, we're just trying to make a circle around that also. Just come in, outline it off to the side. Okay, and there we go. You can also add a tiny bit of yellow in there if you want. You can even stick some orange in there, just kind of play with the colors that you're seeing. You can come in with that orange, just kind of do a little bit of a highlight, dab the center a little bit. That way you can have that color nice and mixed up, nice and combined. Okay, so a couple of things left to do. This is what our painting should be looking like right about now. A couple of things left to do is to grab this round tip brush, picking up a little bit of green with a drop of black, maybe even a little bit of yellow in there, 2 colors at once, why not? And we're gonna start to do some lines of some falling leaves around our painting. If you at any point want to do some of those purple, those orange dots also, you want to go in there and leave some orange dots around. There you go. So our final thing to do is to come in with our detail brush. Come in with a color that's going to stand out. I'm going to grab this bright orange. And on the right hand side, I'm just going to come in and do my signature. And that's it. After this, you guys are done. Thank you guys for joining my class. And hopefully I see you soon.